Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Monday morning here in Cypress, Texas. Um, it's a 2-year memorial of my wife, Natalie's passing. And if I let my mind go into this day, this is a hard day. It brings me down, so I'm not going to go there. I've done it multiple times already this morning, and I just don't want to do it no more. Can't bring her back. Um, I She was a sweet lady, and my life with her was very pleasant. And you know, and that's a memory I want to keep. So my mind today has been just really in a process of controlling my thoughts. So things I did yesterday is the Rabbi Tim gave me the idea of creating a PowerPoint to break down the mitzvahs. So that's what I did. Mitzvah 1, uh, Exodus 20 verse 2. I'm the Lord thy God. I brought you out of the land of Egypt. Have no other gods before me. And when you break that down into the Hebrew, and it's like, here's what it basically breaks down to when you interpret it, is the all-powerful casts his seed into the house, which is us. And I'm like, whoa. And there's, it's like, it's just very powerful. And then for some reason today, it was raining real hard, so I couldn't do my walk and talk because it was raining too hard. So I did my run and workout first, and I was listening to a podcast, a very long podcast, the lady that produced The Secret. And I'm listening to her, and which is really interesting. She does give credit. She says the people in the Bible had it right. Okay. And that was very amazing. And she talks about this secret. I mean, when you talk about the secrets of the kingdom, the revelation, it's really just understanding. Let me say that it's not just. It's bridging into the spiritual. So we've had these prophets come into the church, and they're not going. I mean, they went through the scriptures, and like I've seen every other a ton. I went to a all-black church a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, and they quote these scriptures in a very respectful way that they do it, and they just pound on this one scripture, right? And go back, and they're going to the historical, right? All right, but what these people have done, and what they're doing, without even really understanding the Hebrew thought, okay, the Hebrew language, all right, but they're able to give spiritual. They're able to go, and I've done this, and seen things manifest, all right, crazy stuff, right? Getting back into SEAL training, actually making it to the Navy boxing team, right? Even literally, my experience in combat, I had that image of at night running up a runway came into my mind 8 months before I ever went to SEAL training, right? uh, you know, so here's what I'm trying to say. Okay, these people are prophetic, right? They're getting downloads. They can tell people's family situation, uh, their their names without even meeting them, and all these things, right? But they don't know the mitzvahs, right? But they do know how to get into the spiritual, which is getting behind the veil, the Holy of Holies, right? So that was occupying my mind, you know, uh, on my run today. Um, the When I was getting out of the military, they had this class called TAP, Transition Assistance Class, and they had you, um, how to write a resume, pulling from your previous experience, and how to approach employers, whatever, to get a job, right? And the the guy at the end of the thing gave us this quiz. What's your favorite color? 3 adjectives describing your favorite color. Your favorite animal. 3 adjectives describing your favorite animal. Your favorite body of water. 3 adjectives describing that body of water. And imagine you're in a room. There's 4 walls, a ceiling, and a floor. You know that they're there, but you can't see them. You can't touch them. How does it make you feel? And I'm like, oh, this is a place that I can just open. I can just receive the Holy Spirit and focus on the Lord, right? And so I wrote free and unbound. Okay. And then the guy came and told us what those things were representative of. The color represented how you see yourself. The adjectives describe how you describe in yourself. The animal is how the color is how other people see you. The animal is how you see yourself. The body of water pertains to sex as it pertains to you, and the room represented death. I'm like, oh wow, isn't that some, right? And I've done that before, and with other people, and it's really interesting how they respond to, like, people from California always pick the Pacific Ocean, and the adjectives are like pounding and surging and enormous and salty, right? and and but somebody's got to, is like, the way they respond to the room gives you a good level of their spirituality. Okay. And if they're not very spiritual, they're going to say things like irritated, annoyed, frightened, whatever, right? That's how they're going to be. Right? And so, to me, that's the Holy of Holies. That's where I want to be. All right. And having when I first became a Catholic, I grew up as a heathen. I didn't really go to church. I went to a Baptist church in this Southern Baptist minister from Georgia in Michigan. I was like third row falling asleep, and he's like, I hear him yell, "Hellfire, damnation!" Point right at me. I'm like, I ain't going back there, right? And I didn't until I went to the Navy, and then, if you went to church on Sunday, you got to drink coffee and eat donuts, but then they wanted you to become a Catholic, because that's the only church. I'm like, oh, I wouldn't know if I'm ready to do that, right? And then later on, I met a pretty girl, got invited to a Catholic mass at somebody's house. This guy was the head of the charismatic renewal, and while our heads are knelt down in prayer, asked us to forgive somebody, that we needed to forgive, and somebody in our family, and I forgave my stepdad. Just something I thought I'd never do, and I told him, and then he said, so I couldn't let these people out of my life. I went to the Catholic Church for 10 years without receiving communion. I finally got confirmed and baptized, and this Air Force colonel who went to seminary before Vatican II, and Vatican II allowed them to say the Mass in other than Latin, in their native language, right? They didn't have to stand facing away from the congregation. They could face the congregation, and the emphasis wasn't so much on the rituals and symbolism, but more actually on a relationship with God, okay? And that's what he taught me, okay? And so right after that, there's this guy, an officer comes to the command, and he's got this book, and he's asking everybody, what's your religion? What's your faith, right? And there was a guy that was Jehovah's Witness. We were in like Paraguay, and he's like telling this guy everything what's wrong with his religion. And I'm like, dude, you're stepping out of bounds. You're in the military. That's a no, right? You don't, it has no bearing on nothing, right? And you're not. He was an ensign or Lieutenant JG, and I was an E5. Pretty salty, combat veteran, department head, all that. And then I told him. He asked me, "What's your faith?" I'm Catholic. He says, "Oh, you worship, you know, uh, idols." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "All this, the saints and Mary." I'm like, "Listen," and all this. I'm like, "Listen," and I don't even know where these words came from. But I said, the Catholic Church is designed on basic leadership principles. It's designed to reach those people to the lowest level. The ones that, say, "Listen, I don't get this faith thing. Just tell me what I got to do," and get them closer to that personal relationship with the Lord, right? Which I hadn't had yet. He got all excited. He's like, all the churches are coming together, just like it says in the Bible. And I'm like, what? Whoa, right? And later on that day, he we got back to Panama, and I'm my parachute loft. I called him up to my parachute loft. I said, "Listen, I know you know something I don't know. I'm gonna figure it out." And it was like a year later. I'm at a Amway convention, and my wife had joined the company, and they were having a convention in Louisville, Kentucky. So I went to go see her, and because she was living in Pensacola with her parents and my boy at the time, and I was in Monterey for Spanish language, and and there was the keynote speaker was Rudy Rudiger, the guy that the real guy that the movie Rudy was based on. And he was a Catholic, and he told his testimony and how throughout his life everything was going up and down. He had relied on his faith, which made his trajectory even. And I'm like, oh, I didn't do that. And then right after that, this Protestant minister does an altar call and gives you a New Testament and does a blessing over you, says blessing over you, which is really funny because now they know that's where that theology of we're just living in the New Testament. You can't, and just Jesus. To know Jesus. You can't know Jesus without knowing the Old Testament, especially the law, especially the Hebrew interpretation of the law, because he did, and that was his mind. That was the mind of God that he had, his understanding. So when you understand that, you're going to understand Jesus. And if you don't, you don't. Okay. There we go. Have a great Monday.